You ever pulled a groin muscle or wrenched a knee just stepping wrong and thought, I'm too young for this crap? Or maybe you threw out your shoulder when a heavy box that you were moving in the garage slipped. What if I told you that one often overlooked form of exercise could help you to prevent all of these? Today's video I'm going to talk about how power training can not only make you more athletic, but also make you less injury prone and perhaps even prevent you from being laid up with a fractured hip when you're 80 years old. My name is Aaron Kubitz. I'm the founder of Functional Aesthetics of Eau Claire, where I blend science and real-world innovation to help men over 40 get lean, stay strong, and perform better in life. A quick Google search will show you that the top 3 most popular forms of exercise in the United States are walking, lifting weights, and jogging/running in that order. This is great. These are all excellent forms of exercise. You should definitely be doing them. But in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how one often overlooked form of exercise could be even better for helping you to stay strong and in control through your 40s, 50s, and even your 60s and 70s and your 80s. So before we move into that, I'm just going to give you a quick recap of the best way to incorporate these popular forms of exercise into your workout routine. So walking, that's something that you can and should be doing every single day. Walk at least 20 minutes a day, preferably 40 minutes a day. After that, you have strength training. You can be doing that if you're doing full body workouts. Doing that 2 to 3 times a week is going to be perfect. If you're doing body part splits where you're working individual muscle groups in each workout, then 3 to 6 times a week is going to be a good option for you. When it comes to your running or jogging, that is something that is really going to be highly dependent on your fitness goals. If you like running a lot, maybe up to 6 times a week. If you are more strength focused and don't want to do as much of that kind of stuff, then 1 time a week can be great. Personally, I run anywhere between 1 to 2 times a week for a total of 5 to 10 miles, and then the rest of the time is just walking and lifting. Now, a word about jogging and running, right? So if you're a bigger guy, let's say you're 200 pounds plus, maybe even you're like 300 pounds, your primary goal is you're trying to drop some body fat, or you're a very muscular guy and you want to maintain that muscle mass, and you don't want to put a lot of wear and tear in your joints. Now, it's definitely possible you can go out there and you can do some jogging, but it often pains me to see bigger guys and gals out there going for a jog and just thinking about how much strain is on their knees and their joints and their hips, and that they might end up injuring themselves, get discouraged, and never actually achieve their weight loss or fitness goals and the ability to live that healthy, active lifestyle simply because they started out with the wrong form of aerobic exercise for them. There was a University of Wisconsin Crosse study that showed that high-intensity kettlebell circuits can actually provide the same cardiovascular benefits and the equal calorie burn as running a 6 minute per mile. So the average man, 200 pounds, let's say the average man in the United States today weighs about 200 pounds, right? So let's say a 200-pound man running for an hour at a 6 minute per mile pace is going to burn roughly 1,200 calories. And you can get the same effect from doing kettlebell circuits, barbell complexes, or sandbag circuits. The advantage is that these forms of exercise, as opposed to running, which simply burns a lot of calories, it can strengthen your calves, but it also tends to wear down muscle mass. These forms of exercise will stimulate your entire body, giving you a greater, potentially even greater calorie burn, just from my personal experience, and it conditions and improves muscular endurance throughout the entire body rather than just in the legs. And since you're not having that repetitive pounding, you're also getting a great, it's great for helping you to drop that weight if that is your goal, or to stay at that weight if you have a lot of muscle mass and you want to maintain that, while stimulating, getting that cardiovascular benefit and being more joint friendly. So if you're not familiar with barbell complexes, a barbell complex might look something like this, where let's say, for example, you take, and again, this is not, you're not doing heavy lifting, right? So maybe you start off with like something like 30 to 60% of like whatever your 1 rep max is. You start off with maybe doing some barbell cleans, right? So you're cleaning that weight up, clean it up, maybe do that 10 times, follow that without stopping, 10 front squats into 10 overhead presses, 10 barbell rows, flip it over, curls, and then overhead triceps extensions. Now you might need to drop the weight for the isolation forms of the exercise, or you could just keep it to just the clean, the squat, the press, and then the row, right? And then just cycle around with that. Now here's the thing. You start out light, and then you add a little bit of weight on the next round. Or you just keep the weight exactly the same, you rest a minute or two, and then you repeat the whole round again. And there's no rest in between the cycles. Get excellent cardiovascular conditioning, and it also sends a stimulus to your body. Hey, hang on to these muscles because we're actually using them. When you're in your 20s, maybe your 30s even, and especially in high school, a lot of guys are okay with simply just looking good. Sometimes I'll even hear guys say, I don't really care about how strong I am, I just want to look strong. I want to have big muscles, I want to, be defined, I want to be toned, I want to be ripped, I want to look, have those good looking beach muscles, right? A lot of guys are okay with that. But after 40, and especially as you get older, performance becomes even more important for us. It's a bigger concern for us older guys. We are less concerned, yeah, sure, looking good with your shirt off at any age is not going to be a bad side effect. But more so than just looking good, we want to feel and perform at our best. Now, building muscle with gym machines and things like that isn't necessarily going to help you to perform better. It'll build muscle for sure, but muscle is important. How you build the muscles, I've talked about in other videos, is just as important as building that muscle. And so maybe you can do some bodybuilding routines just like I do in my hybrid strength program, which is efficient for building the muscle, but then you also want to train like an athlete as well. So combining the power train that we're talking about in this video, which is going to help you to do that as well. After high school or college sports, most guys stop training for power. Power training includes things like sprinting, jumping, throwing, kicking, punching, and even things as basic as swinging a golf club. That's probably the only form of power training that most guys after the high school or college sports end up doing, unless of course they're involved in a combat sport where there is actually a lot of power training and you also have the muscular endurance component as well in there. This is a shame because power training is perhaps even more important than strength training. We all know that strength training can help to increase your longevity and also improve your quality of life, but studies have shown that power training is even more important than that. Power training, similar to many other forms of exercise, will help to improve your blood lipid profile, so you're not going to have as much fats in your blood, which can improve the health of your heart. You're going to also help to stabilize blood sugar. It's going to help to ensure that blood sugar levels don't go too high, in helping to increase your insulin sensitivity so that you don't end up getting diabetes later in life, which can have a whole host of different problems, including the loss of vision, having, potentially getting, limbs amputated when you lose loss of blood flow to those areas in the extreme conditions, and then just improving your cardiovascular health as well. We know that aerobic exercise improves your cardiovascular health, but so does strength training, lifting heavier weights, bodybuilding training, and also speed, power, and agility training. In fact, as I think I had mentioned in last week's video, power training can actually improve your cardiovascular health or your aerobic fitness just as good as going for a jog or a hike or something like that. The reason that you don't want to stop walking and jogging and doing those things and just do all power training is because power training can be a little bit harder on your nervous system, and so you don't want to do it every single day, whereas walking and jogging are things that you can do more frequently. Being healthy isn't just about being strong or having bigger muscles. In fact, those things won't prevent you from throwing out your back, wrenching your knee, playing volleyball at the family get-together, or catching yourself and avoiding injury if you slip and fall on the ice in the wintertime. Power training just might. Lastly, in this video, I know a lot of guys in your 40s and 50s, at this point you're not too concerned about falling, probably, right? But as I said earlier in the video, what you're doing now can predict how you live in the future. So let's talk a little bit about fall prevention. So gait speed, or how fast you walk, is highly correlated with power, right? Which is also highly correlated with your risk of falling. So if you lose power, you are at increased risk of getting injured, falling, slipping and falling, right? So why does that matter? Well, they did a study of people over 65. There's over 1,600 people in the study. these people, and what they found was, and this was like injury, so like overall, fractures at any site. The most common areas to get fractures are like, the upper leg and your femur, your hip, or your pelvis, your spine, your upper arm, etc. These areas are the most common areas. So across all these areas, women were twice as likely to have died a year after the fall as women who had not suffered a fracture. For men, they were 3 times as likely to have died after the fall, versus guys who had not suffered a fracture. In another study, they showed that 1 to 3 months after a fracture of the bigger of like those different sites, that there was 58 to 122 people. So there's like over 1,000 people in the study, and 58 to 122 people respectively, so 1 month to 3 months, had died within that time period after the fracture. So it's usually a lot of these different complications that happen after you were laid up in bed, and because you were older, you don't regenerate as fast and recover as quickly. We all know that as we get older, our muscle mass tends to shrink and decrease, and when you are laid up in bed, it takes you a lot longer to recover that strength that you lost. You lose it very rapidly when you're not using your muscles because you're bedridden with a broken limbs, and then it takes you much longer to recover that. And so even for the people who don't die in these situations, because what they'd found is that 5 years after this study and the follow-up, that half of these people had passed away, right? So even if you don't die though, because some of these people were older, like in their 80s, right? We have people in their 60s, we have people in their 80s and stuff. And so, you're not, most people aren't going to live to be 90 years old. So it makes sense that a lot of these people would have passed away. But more significant than just dying is that even if you don't die, most people don't fully recover, especially from hip, back, or lower leg injuries. They have reduced mobility and they have increased dependence on people helping them out in their day-to-day life. In summary, lifting weights can help you to be strong. It can help you to build lean muscle mass, which can improve not only the way that you look, but also your metabolic health, your cardiovascular health as well. However, these two things on their own aren't necessarily going to help you to live a longer, higher quality life. You also need to be athletic. Power training can help you to increase your coordination, your reaction times, your walking speed, all these different things to make it so that you are less injury prone, right? You're also going to be able to move better. One thing about power training is that oftentimes people will say that one of the reasons that they don't work out regularly is that it is boring. But sprinting, jumping, hitting the heavy bag and things like that, add a little bit more of that fun into your exercise routine. Rather than just counting reps, you're getting to, chase about, how fast can I run down this track? How high can I jump? You also get, I'm going to be talking about in future videos, some of the mental benefits that you get with the power training as well, that not only, change how your physical body looks, help you to be more resilient and less injury prone, but also help you to have a better, more positive outlook on life and slow down that cognitive decline that can come with age. More about that in a future video. So before I wrap up this video here, I want to know from you. Go ahead and drop this down in the comments below. What form of power training are you most interested in developing? Do you want to be able to run faster, jump higher, martial arts, that kind of stuff, or maybe even Olympic lifting? Go ahead and drop that down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in my next video, which I'll be talking about the hormonal benefits of power training. But before I go, if you are interested in content related to building muscle, shedding body fat, how to both train and diet for those goals, how to prevent injuries, and if you do get an injury, how to work around those injuries should you sustain them, then consider subscribing to the channel by hitting the button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. I'll see you all next time for more health and fitness information.